We are going to be having our next session, then afterwards we will be going for a group photo quickly outside, then we will continue with the program. Are we good? Yeah. Awesome. So the next session is by Adebiyi, and he will be talking to us about passion put to work, building Africa's cloud native community. Please make welcome Adebiyi.
Hello. Good to be here. Just wait for the slides. By the way, my name is Ileriayo. A lot of people find it hard to pronounce. I guess that's why she said Adebiyi. My name is Ileriayo for short. And I was speaking about passion that I put to work. So this is personal to me because it has to do with something that I'm working on, and I've been building the cloud native community. Of course, not myself alone, but some other interesting people. Please, next slide. Oh, apologies. Alright, so this is me. I hope it looks like me. I'm a cloud native engineer. I'm also a DevOps consultant. I am the CNCF Ambassador. CNCF is the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which is under the Linux Foundation. I'm one of the, I think, about 5 African ambassadors right now. I'm also the creator of Markdown Badges. It has 15,000 stars on GitHub. Another C about me, I'm a Christian missionary. And finally, I'm running a small community. I'm a husband to one. Alright. So this is the topic again, passion put to work, building Africa's cloud native community. But what is cloud native? This is what I'm going to talk about in essence. So please listen carefully. If you have questions, you can ask afterwards. I'll tell you something about the early 90s. In about 1990, there was this guy who wrote an email. You can call it an email. Alright, he posted a message to a news group, and he said, "Hey guys, I'm working on this technology, and I did this, I did that, I did this with technology. It looks like Unix, but it's not." Does anybody know who that person is? Nobody.
Oh, I'm not.
Oh, no, you're not Gen Z. Alright, so this guy's name is Linus Torvalds, and he wrote that message to a group of people. And from there, we had something that has changed the course of not just technology, but of humanity. Linux was born through what Linus Torvalds did, and I'll skip through all of the details because that's not what I'm talking about. But eventually, open source spirit was born through that simple act, and what we're all gathered together to talk about, is open source, and it was built on top of, this Linux spirit. So eventually, how would open source function? How will open source achieve what it set out for? There had to be like a governance body that ensures that things are in place. So we then had what you call the Linux Foundation, which was responsible for overseeing the Linux project. And by the way, I think Linux is one of the highest rating projects on GitHub. So we had that foundation born, and we began to see a lot more people contribute to open source through that foundation. Enter sometime in the early 2000s. We had what you call cloud computing. Of course, Amazon was one of the big players at the time, And Amazon, they had a very good market share of the cloud. Some of us already know about how the cloud was born. So along the line, we had some other players, Microsoft, Google, but Google was a bit, compared to the three, Google was not there yet. And they thought to themselves, what can we do to get a good share of this market? And they came in that spirit of open source. At the time, there was a conference called DockerCon, sometime in 2014. And so Google had the VP of engineering, I think it's Donny. He went for that conference, and internally they had already said they were going to open source one of their technologies called Borg at the time. And so this technology, they brought it to DockerCon and they presented it. Although they had now changed certain things, they changed the programming language which was written, and they changed the name of that technology from Borg to Kubernetes. And so at this conference, DockerCon, they presented Kubernetes. They spoke about Kubernetes, and from that week, the project called Kubernetes skyrocketed in contributions. And the alternative, which was built by Docker. Now, this was a Docker conference. Docker had their own technology, which was doing something similar to what Kubernetes did. From that week, the Docker's project went down, and Kubernetes rose to the roof. So they kind of stole the show. But in 2014, 2015, when this project came on the scene, we began to see that not every organization would accept working with a competitor. Amazon was a competitor to Google, so was Microsoft. But these companies, including IBM and all other companies, decided that let's come together and let's build a foundation that is going to be vendor neutral. And this foundation will house technologies that are cloud native. So Google came with that, and they brought Kubernetes to the scene. And of course, they were the big players in the Kubernetes space at the time. And Kubernetes was an exciting, interesting project. And so Kubernetes became the first project that was donated to the CNCF, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which is a vendor-neutral organization. So Linux was born. On top of Linux, several years ago, the cloud was formed, and then what we have as the Cloud Native Foundation, Computing Foundation, was also born. And so that's what Cloud Native is about. I'm not going to technical details because I understand that not everyone here is technically inclined. So let's talk about the community. I just spoke about CNCF and the Linux Foundation and the relationship that they have one with another. So the CNCF is a sub-foundation under the Linux Foundation, and specifically dealing with cloud-native technology. And the goal of the CNCF is to make cloud-native computing ubiquitous. But there was a challenge, and it's one of the challenges I've always been saying. This is Africa. We have America, we have Europe, we have, I don't know if I've seen that in the rest of the world. So I was working with an organization, Container Solutions, a European organization, one time, and I asked some of my colleagues that, because that was a consultancy, DevOps, a cloud native consultancy actually. And I asked that why is it that we don't have clients from Africa? Why is it that we don't have partners in Africa and all of that? And they, of course, they were honest and mentioned to me that that's not their market. They don't have customers from there. So to me, it made sense that, well, this is a business, it's not a charity organization. You have to, make money. And this community, the African community, is not the target market. And from that point, or before that, I forgot to mention, I've been studying Kubernetes, I've been logging up on Kubernetes. That's why it's passion put to work. And I discovered this technology was a game changer. You know, we can talk about technology another time, in another session, but it was a game changer. Let me just give you some quick sneak peek. Every Android phone runs on Linux. All right, every Android phone. And we have, I think Android phones are the highest in number compared to, the other kinds of operating systems. So we have that. We also have 99% of all supercomputers in the world, they run on Linux. Tesla what's his name? Elon Musk, his company, SpaceX, they sent a rocket a few years ago, and they announced that it was running on a variant of Linux. So Linux is a game changer. But then, so the same way Linux looks like it's the foundation of modern computing today. It's the bedrock of modern computing, because look at the impact of Linux. That same way, Kubernetes has become like the operating system for the cloud. So if you're using the cloud, very, very likely what's powering it beneath the hood is Kubernetes. So that's how big Kubernetes is. And so I was logging up on this technology, and I was working with clients, helping them to set up this technology and get the best of this stuff. But then Africa was my concern. What's really going on? How is Africa in part in all of these things that are happening? And so I began to do my own research. I began to, host seminars, host webinars, educate people on on Kubernetes. Went on social media, I posted links, people joined, and then I was like, how can this is not scalable. I got burnt out pretty quickly. And then I began to think of working with people who are already in that space. And so that was how I began to look into communities. I found that there is a community, largely in Europe and in the Americas, and they were doing good stuff, pretty good stuff. They were championing the adoption, the development and growth of cloud native all over the world. But then Africa was just on the side. And I'm African, and I'm like, how do I get involved? What should I do? So I began to look around, and I saw people who were in that space, how they weren't really, doing so much. Then I decided I was going to champion cloud native in Africa. So for some people who know me, somebody said, I think this week, that you literally carried the entire African ecosystem on your back. But thankful to all the people who have been supporting. So we have global communities like that, and then we have local communities. But like I said, Africa was a problem. So we started a Lagos community, I think about 3-4 years ago, I can't really remember now. And we took that from 4 people, it was just 4 people in that community, to over 300 people right now, from then till now. So the community has been growing in Lagos. And at the time as well, I also joined the CNCF Africa community. One of our organizers is here. I saw her just there, Anita, but okay, she's at the back, yes. All right, she's also one of the plus. She's also one of the organizers for KCD. It used to be KCD Africa, but it's now KCD Nigeria. And we're collocating our event with Oscar Fest on Friday and Saturday, so you can come. So the community has been growing steadily, and which is a very good thing. I spoke about Africa. So the statistics, I mentioned that I'm one out of about 5 people who is on the ambassador list, which is very poor. And so we have programs to ensure that people are participating and contributing to these initiatives. I'm going to move quickly. So I started something called Cloud Native Africa, and there's the URL, cloudnativeafrica.io. You can check it out. It's a website. It's like a news website. My idea was I wanted to begin to research the community in Africa and understand what's happening is there anyone who is involved in building cloud native in Africa? Is there anyone who is doing something great that we can push out to the world? And on this website, I'm capturing my thoughts. I saw Victoria. Victoria was on stage. I don't know if she's still here. She's left, but yeah, she's on the other side. She contributed an article recently to this website, and I'm very grateful if she's going to hear this afterwards. But so, Cloud Native Africa was supposed to help build the African community in Cloud Native. Then, let's see. One of the initiatives we also took was that we wanted to do this. I mean, when you talk about technology in Africa, you're mentioning places like Lagos, Nairobi, Kigali, just a few, And in my mind, I was like, how do we get this into more places? How do we move from Lagos? Because any conference that you hear about is in Lagos, is just in Lagos. And so we said that we're going to start a tour, we call it Cloud Native Africa Tech Tour. And the idea is that we'll go into different communities and we'll help plant a cloud native group or a cloud native community in those places. So we started from Lagos in Nigeria, and we had a tour in June, 2 weeks, where we met with some of the cloud native enthusiasts, and we had a great time. So this was like one stone killing multiple birds for us, all right? Because we said that we found that a lot of people in tech want to travel. Am I speaking your mind?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So this is also an opportunity. I'm also shameless plug. You can sign up for this tech tour and decide that you want to travel around Africa to do tech stuff. So we did this in Kenya last 2 months, June, and we liked the turnout, we liked what we saw, and we're going stronger. We're trying to ensure that we're building this community. I know I have just a few more minutes, but this is what's been happening in the cloud native ecosystem. We actually need more people. I don't know if there's anyone in cloud computing here. Okay, we have quite a number of people. Yes, definitely. And you've heard of cloud native before?
Yes.
Okay, so you can participate in Cloud Native Africa, that project, and you can help build this stuff. But let me also go back to some of the lessons. I think I forgot to add this slide. It's not there. But some of the challenges, that we have faced. But let me even go along with how we were able to do all of these things. We just decided to take a bold step. Nothing really. We just decided, let's just step out and just put things on social media. One person joins, 2 people join, let's make it bigger, and let's keep growing. Because a lot of people ask, how do I contribute? Nobody gave this to us. We didn't join any foundation per se to begin to run this. Because many times we're looking for, what foundation should I join? I mean, what should I do? All right. We just said we're going to do. The foundation is going to come. Are we together? All right. And that was how, somebody can relate. And that was how we took those steps. And what we're seeing is that we're actually seeing people coming to meet us. That how do I join what you're doing? So I think in open source, to me, I feel I was sharing with Blessing earlier that I have a computer science background. I did computer science, I did data structures and algorithm. I did the computer, I didn't transition, all right? So I'm original. All right? But look at the irony. I did all of that. I came out of school several years ago. I shouldn't mention it. And when I got out of school, I was still studying. Alright, I was still trying to get better at my craft. I was still trying to learn because, of course, like many people say, school is scam, although school is not really scam. I have a post on that on LinkedIn. Check it out. So I came out of school and I began to see younger people get opportunities in tech. And I was like, then when I looked out and I'm like, let me see what these guys are doing. Let me try to, learn from them. And then I looked at some people and I'm like, what's this guy doing? This guy, this is, this is not correct. This is not correct. No, this is not. And I'm like, while you could have seen that as a bad thing, I saw it. I was like, if these folks can have access to these kinds of opportunities with this little that they know, then there's something I'm missing out on. So I was grinding on data structure and algorithm and all of that, which is good, not bad too. But I also thought that the missing link was community. The missing link was my network. I was just indoor, locked in, grinding, but I wasn't getting those opportunities. So I figured that I was going to become a part of the community. I was going to get involved. And as I began to log up on Kubernetes, and I found that there was really no huge community like that, I said I'm going to pioneer a community. So I think you can start from where you are. You just take the steps. There are people who have reached out to me to say that they want to join. And many times I look at them and I'm like, I just observe and I ask them questions. And I say, okay, what have you done? And they're like, they are looking for something to do. And when I see that you have not done anything, sometimes, many folks who are running this show, they're very occupied. We are not looking to babysit. Of course, there are programs that do that, all right? But then, we want to see what have you done? What can you do? What initiative have you taken? All right? And so some people who reached out to us, eventually we saw that what happened was that they now began to run bigger things. That's the between when they reached out to us and when we went through with them. So I'll say to you that there is no better time to start. There is no better time to take that bold step. You want to build something, there is no better time. Just get on it. And I promise you, as you do, you will find people who will be willing to join in what you're doing. So these are just some find attached. Okay? So we partnered with Andela by relationships too. And Andela signed a deal with the CNCF to train 30,000 people. Now, I couldn't have imagined that when we were starting that we would have that opportunity, but I was looking for partnerships. How do I partner with people to get bigger, to grow bigger? And I think that's one of the things that's lacking in Africa. I gave a talk, fortunately, I gave a talk at Oscar Fest. I know this is co-located at Oscar Fest several years ago, and the title was Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. And that's how we built Markdown Badges, up to 15,000 stars. And it taught me a lesson. You can listen to that talk. But then, this is another one. So 30,000 developers. This year, we've trained 5,000 people. Over 1,000 people have been certified Kubernetes. And we're looking to do more in 2026. So this is an opportunity to get into cloud if you want to. All right. I mentioned this. We have this store very recently. You can check out the blog post on cloudnativeafrica.io. These are some posts that we made, about the work that we're doing. And these are some photographs of, this is Kenya, one of the, we're there at the AWS Community Day event, and this is like the Lagos community. It's a small group of people who meet up, regularly. We're having meetups, I think every quarter. I'm not really the one in charge, but you can follow up on that. This was issued to me by the CNCF, and I was glad. This was our very first meetup, and this guy said, to be honest, this is the best that he's had. So that's all that I have time to speak about. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Questions? Oh, okay. Please allow me to drop the mic.
Okay, your section was the main reason why I'm here today. Because we just got like the 4th CNCF community in Cardinal. We just officially got approved last week. So we now have CNCF. And my major question is, what advice would they give? Because cloud is very niche. A lot of people are not really interested in that, or they don't know about that community, right? So what advice would you give for someone starting out? If you had to do it over again, what would you do differently?
I'm not sure I have time to answer all of that, but I'll say I think we can talk afterwards. I'll be happy to guide you through and mentor you on that journey. So thank you for coming. Thank you so much. I think we can answer to your question. Okay, ask.
When you said Android works with Linux, does it mean that microchips used in making phones, they are also linked to Linux?
So, thank you. I assume you're about to study computer science, something like that. Alright. Microchips are things that you can call like hardware, and then Linux falls under something that you can call software. Alright. Now you need hardware and software. I mean, somebody corrected me in an interview. Alright. So you need both hardware and software to have technology work properly into this world. Alright. So microchips are built with things like silicon, which is a chemical compound. Alright. But then software is completely different. Alright. You need a system that is built with those chips to be able to program something. I'm trying to break it down for you. I hope that's clear. Alright, but I can see you afterwards again. Yeah. Does anybody have any question? Thank you very much.